If you have any questions or if you would like to share something, please feel free to. Good morning. Good morning to all of you, or good evening, depending on where you are. I just want to be with you today. That's it. There's no agenda. But do feel free to ask or share anything that you would like. It's a beautiful morning here. It's a small city. It's called Mohali. It is approximately 5 hours, 5.5 hours from New Delhi. And the place that I am in is actually on the outskirts of Mohali. So it's more towards the rural area. And it's a quiet Sunday morning today here. Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you for the positive comment. Thank you for the kind words. It's good to be here in all of your presence. Even if it's virtual, it is still good. Tejal says, thank you for all your guidance. Thank you, Tejal. Thank you so much. I have been wondering about manifestation, what it is actually manifestation, or whether it is simply aligning your destiny rather than creating it. Interested to hear your thoughts, and thank you. So, on the topic of manifestation, uh, my idea is that when we truly surrender to the universe and say that my destiny is what you decide, the universe decides, that is the highest vibration one can be in. And then in that state, there is no need to actually manifest anything, because everything is given to you. Whatever you need is given to you without you using any words or thought forms. So that, I believe, is the highest vibration. But certainly one can ask the universe for peace, well-being, and even a material well-being too. However, what will be given to you depends on your energy, you know, the state that you are in most of the times, because universe does not work as our mind works. Universe just see what state we are in. So if we are in peace, then universe knows that we want peace. But if we are in restlessness and chaotic energy, energy of desperation, then that's what universe gives us. So alignment means surrendering to the universe and letting it decide what is best for us, which is actually a great spiritual practice. Sarah says, So somehow there is annoying here that I am awareness, but there's still a huge addiction to being a person. How does one reconcile this and move beyond this? So I think that there is an awareness that there is addiction to the person, right? Just tap into that awareness. Who knows that there is an addiction? And if there is an addiction, let that be. Let that be. Even surrender to that. When I totally give up and I say that if there is an addiction and it is causing pain and suffering, I even surrender to that, then there is no more pain and suffering. You see, it is only when we are putting a resistance, what you call as addiction to being a person is actually resistance to the flow of life, because person resists. Person says, I am the doer, I create my life, and somehow I am responsible for what is happening here and there. But when one gives up all these notions and rests with the energy that I am simply an instrument of the universe, then one is in the highest vibration, so as to speak, and then there is no more addiction to the person. So just be. That would be. Raj Lakshmi asks how to do continuous witness. You do not do witnessing. Any doership, even trying to be a witness, is an idea of the separate self. You just be. When you be, there is witnessing already. Comments are moving fast, so if I miss some of you, please do not mind. uh, my capacity to catch up with the comments is not that good. You can always submit an email if your question is not answered. I have come to a point, Rian says, I have come to a point where I've realized I know absolutely nothing. Nothing is in my control and I haven't done anything. It's freeing and frustrating at the same time. Things just seem to happen. So if it is frustrating, then there is some resistance somewhere. The belief is yet not total, I would say. There is some resistance, that but some resistance that comes from the idea that I am somehow in control of this or that. When there is total letting go of the control, then it will definitely be freeing. But yes, even to come to this realization that I know nothing brings great freedom. It brings a lot of peace, I believe. So TM says, you have really helped me to see where I can let go in my life and surrender. It's made a big difference for me. Thank you for sharing what you've learned. I will pass it on. Thank you so much. I'm glad that this has helped you. VC says, Namaskaram. What is your opinion on making choices if we are not doers, or if all is predestined? Now, I do have a concept, and it is just my concept, that everything is predestined. And why do I keep that concept? It's because it makes life peaceful, not because not because I'm trying to prove that life is predestined. It rids me of the belief that I made mistakes in the past, and to cling on to guilt and shame unnecessarily when things happened in a certain way where I was not in control. If I believe that I am the doer, then I cling on to shame and guilt in my life and live with this regret that I could have done things better. I could have managed relationships better. I could have made more money. I could have done this, done that. So, living with all of that story is pain and suffering. Mind creates stories, and the end of the story is end of the mind, is beginning of peace, or let's say it is resting into the peace of being. So this is the only reason I believe life is predestined. Every path, every move that you made is predestined. Other than that, I have uh, no other idea. Okay, there is another question. How do I live in peace when dealing with chronic pain in the physical body? Focused in the eyes and head. No known cure, and I see life as it was shrinking away. I feel hopelessness. Now, I have dealt with chronic pain for over 2 decades in my life. Association of physical pain with psychological pains comes with the belief that I am the body. Now, one can certainly take steps to, uh, you know, to ensure one's physical well-being. For example, I have been dealing with chronic headaches and chronic back pains, which actually no more disrupt my life, and I'm fully functional now because I do not pay much heed to what the body is doing. I let the body do whatever it is doing. There has to be no sense of hopelessness because you are not the body. This is why this message is so has benefited so much, because when I strongly identify myself as the mind body organism, limited mind body, then I feel a sense of hopelessness because the body is aging, the mind is becoming dull. I mean, I'm not as sharp as I was in my 20s. I'm not as agile and virile as I was in my 20s. And I'm now closer to 40, I'm 45. So I see that it is all changing now, and even I have to wear glasses to read. But it doesn't bring me any sense of hopelessness. In fact, it brings me more and more freedom as I age because I have less things to worry about. I'm free from society's concepts. I'm free from other people's beliefs. I'm free from trying to please other people. I live my life my way. I live authentically. I do whatever I want. So, in that way, the freedom is there. So, chronic pain, now, how you deal with chronic pain depends on your particular situation. So, I cannot guide you on how to get rid of the chronic pain, but do realize that a huge component of chronic pain is psychological, a huge, and a very little of it is physical. Now, acute pain, I understand, acute pain has to be dealt with through treatment and medication. But when the pain becomes chronic, one has to examine as to what are the ideas and beliefs one is tied up to. So that needs to be examined. And it is uh, it is possible to live a fully functional life with great vigor and enthusiasm, even with chronic pain. Okay, Abhishek says, those who have recently awakened to a deeper understanding of themselves, but their partners remain on a completely different wavelength, how do you suggest they continue the relationship? That's an interesting question. Yes, it depends on you and your partner, what type of an understanding you have with your partner. Now, I don't see a problem there because uh, at one point our patterns were also different, right? And our partners accepted us and formed a relationship based on what we were at that point. But now this understanding dawned on us, and it caused a change in our personality, a change in our perception, but they are still caught up with the old ideas. So one can be compassionate and give them the time and space to actually let the understanding happen in their case. That's what I would say. It can, as long as the bond, the connection, the love is there, having different ideas should not break a relationship. But if love is not there, if the bonding is not there, if the understanding is not there, if the respect for one another's beliefs, differing beliefs, is not there, then one can certainly take a call on whether to continue or not to continue in the relationship. So that is something you have to work it out with your partner. For from what I see in most cases is that even if you have differing perceptions, one can still, if the love is there, if true bonding is there, then one can still navigate life with the other partner, even if they are still absorbed in the worldly things. That's what I feel. So TM says, by letting go, we are taking control and making things better for our own life. Well, yes, that is true, but even the ability to let go is not in our control sometimes. Sometimes we can let go, but other times, with some other things, we may not be able to let go. So, even the acceptance of that sometimes we are not able to let go of some things, is true letting go. Many, so there is, yeah, there is another question. Many things indeed have been cleared after watching you, but going through my dark night of soul, and suffering continues. I understand, yet I don't understand. Can anything be done? No, dear, nothing can be done other than being. The more you try to do, the more you get entangled in this affair, because you use the language, you say, my dark night of the soul. It is not your dark night of the soul, it is simply dark night of the soul. It is the resistance melting away. Let it happen. Just be kind to yourself. Take help if you need to. Take help from other people if you need to. People who are close to you, people who are, professionals. Do not hesitate to take help. Do not think that you have to do this yourself. But yes, the from what I've seen, from what I've experienced, is that one just has to go through it and in total surrender. And when the surrender is complete, when it is total, then there is the dark night of the soul ends instantly. It is not a function of time, it is just a perception, understanding. It changes 360 degrees, sorry, 180 degrees, not 360 degrees. So Sarah says, so the thought that I'm having an addiction to personhood is just a thought to be dropped? Of course, that's the whole idea. There is no person. See, Nisargadatta Maharaj says that he says in the book, I am that. Is person your continuous experience? And the answer is no. You are a person when you think that you are a person, when the sense of separateness arises in you. When you're sleeping, you're not a person. When you're, let's say, doing random chores like washing, cleaning, or driving, you're not the person. It just happens. The body mind organism, which is programmed, keeps on doing things. And then you don't notice time. It is only when time comes into the picture, no, not talking about the physical time, I'm talking about psychological time. When the time comes into the picture, creating this measure, this separation between observer and the observed, it is then that the person comes into picture. So person is not your continuous experience. In deep sleep, there is no you, there is no person, there is simply awareness, pure awareness. So you can drop this addiction right now, and just say that there is no person. There is There is simply pure awareness. Sagar says, I experienced the spiritual spark, but due to distraction forced by environment, feel like the spark that was making me awake my spiritual journey for few hours when I was experienced my first but low did okay. I do not understand that word. I'm sorry. A month going to happen feel like no vibration. Okay, so what I understand it's basically that there was something happening and then something interrupted it, right? It's all normal. It happens like this. The spiritual spark and what is happening around is not separate. They're all it's all one. It's all one vibration. Just let things happen naturally, organically. So Abhishek says relationship is about relating to another person psychologically, emotionally, and perhaps even spiritually. But if two individuals are unable to truly relate to one another, can there even be a relationship? Well, if two people are truly, what is a relationship? What does it mean actually? What is it to does it mean to relate to another person? Now psychologically, emotionally, things can always change between two people. One person may be in a good emotional space, another person may be in a turbulent emotional space. Psychologically also, people can have differing ideas, and even spiritually, some people may follow different traditions, different religions, different ideas. Somebody can believe in duality, other can believe in non-duality, but all of this has nothing to do with the relationship. A relationship can still be harmonious even if there are differing ideas. Now, in the society, we are told that relationship has to be completely aligned with the ideas. But I don't think that's the way relationships work, because truly there are no human beings who will be completely on the same line. And if two people think too much alike, the relationship again will not last long because it becomes boring and mundane. So to have a relationship, there has to be some commonalities, but at the same time there has to be some differences as well. But yes, now I'll repeat the same thing that I repeated a couple of minutes back. But the underlying bond of love, if it's strong, if there is a knowing that everything despite everything, there is still love, there is still a connection, then the relationship is possible. But if one feels that there is no connection, totally no connection, then one needs to think and take a call, you know. Okay, Satchitananda. Hello, Satchitananda. How are you? I'm waiting for you to come to India and do videos with you again. And I hope to see you soon. It's been a while. Thank you for sending your wishes. Best wishes. I send you mine. Ma Saraswati says, I feel no interest in life after my spiritual awakening now. What is your advice? I also know I'm free, but everything seems so dry. So do examine who has no interest in life, for whom life seems to be dry. It is the separate self or me that is still looking for conditions to be right. But when we uh, allow things to be the way they are with total surrender, then actually that is true freedom. And that can end the dark night of the soul instantly. Do examine who is the one that has no interest in life. Interest in life is based on ideas. So, whose ideas are those? Just to examine that. Are we forced to do what we do, or are our choices meaningful? So, look at this: who is doing what, and for whom is the choice there? You know, choice comes when the person comes into picture, the person with preferences, the persons with the ideas of right and wrong. That is when that is when we even question. But the concept says that we are not the doers. Everything is a happening. And acceptance of life's flow, the unpredictable life's flow, or what is true peace. Abhishek says, how are you finding Mohali after Delhi? Can someone meet you in the Tri City? Oh, of course, of course. Anybody who feels like meeting me, feel free to. In fact, I will be organizing meets here for people. It's just that right now my situation is a little bit different. The place where I'm in is being constructed. So once it is done, construction is done, then most people are welcome to come and sit here, or or I may actually organize a meetup in the neighboring towns, or in Tri-City. So yes, do feel free to. Anybody can come and meet me. It's not a problem. Okay, SP says, I have peace and feel bliss from time to time, but the intensity and entity encounters I have experienced are very hard to replicate. Should I not be attached to my past experiences? Okay, let me read it again. I have peace and bliss from time to time, but the intensity and entity encounters I have experienced are hard to replicate. There is no need to replicate anything. Do not be concerned with your attachment with your past experiences. Just watch, just observe. In that observation itself, all the attachment to past will dissipate, and you will find awareness in now itself. There will be no attachment. So there's nothing to be done other than simply watching whatever is happening. If you crave to replicate an experience, you're still identified with something or some experience in time. The peace and bliss that goes away is not the true peace and bliss. The one that stays and is ever present is your most natural state, which is here and now. So, whenever the awareness comes that you are moving, that your mind is moving, just bring it to the present moment and just be. That's it. Okay, Nihar says, cultivating unconditional love for oneself after a lifetime of self abandonment is one of the most spiritually rewarding things one can do for the self. You see, yes, I would agree that the unconditional love for oneself is actually ever present. It is your own consciousness, and it is readily available. You see, it doesn't even have to be cultivated. It can be tapped into any time, any place. It doesn't require work, it just requires an understanding. Now, of course, work may happen as a result of one's conditioning and environment, but at some point everything just falls apart. All the work and effort just falls apart, and one remains in their most natural state. But yes, as Bhagwan would say, that the small self itself is a changing entity. One may experience highs and lows in life that one may not have an escape from. But the light of awareness, the pure unconditional loving awareness, is always there, is most intimate to you. It's never going to leave you. Okay, Leah says, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correct. Please forgive me if it's wrong. If I have to look at hidden desires to love's presence, wouldn't that be never ending? Of course, if you look at the hidden desires and try to figure it out with your mind, then it's never ending. Because here's the thing, mind does not want to end things. Mind is not, uh, when I when I say mind, I mean the thinking, ruminating mind, the mind that is concerned with outcome, the mind that wants things a certain way. If you look through that filtered perception, which we called as the thinking mind, then desires have no ending. But if you see that desires are just there as thought forms emanating from source and not from the person, then there is no beginning to anything and no end to anything, because you automatically tap into the witness consciousness, which is not concerned with whether the desires are fulfilled or not fulfilled. So I would say just observe and be. But when the mind starts analysis, that is when you know that you're being caught up. So, of course, that would be never ending, because mind's analysis doesn't want a solution. What is our ultimate, let's say, desire? The ultimate desire is peace and wholeness. How does that come about? That doesn't come about through actions or doing or strategies. That just comes about through being, by just being, by resting in that energy of pure consciousness that we are. Does that mean that the desire will not spring up? Even in the sages, the desires do spring up. But the sages are not much concerned with it. They see the desire, they hold the desires lovingly, they even hold the suffering that comes from the desires lovingly. But then they release them and again root themselves into now, the present moment. Aman says, Sir, how to manage livelihood after awakening? Surrender to your situation. Whatever life is offering you in this given moment, whether it is to your preference or not, accept it with grace and move on. That's what I would say. There is no particular way to manage livelihood after awakening. Awakening doesn't mean that the person becomes a certain way. Person sometimes continues to remain in the way he or she is even after awakening. If you feel like doing good for the society while keeping a job, do that. But whatever life is offering you in a given moment, accept it with grace and humility. That's what I would say. Rupesh says, how to get out of fear of death. Okay, this can be done by asking the question, who is afraid of dying? What is it that really dies? The one that is really die, the one that really dies, was it really born in the first place? So one can certainly make that inquiry. And the fear of death will go away subsequently, because the one that is afraid of dying was never even born. The separate self, it is the separate self that is afraid of death. And why is it afraid of death? Because it has identifications in the present life. My family, my life, my job, my this, my that, my beliefs, my ideas, my religion, my this, my that. So it is a bundle of identifications, and that bundle of identifications is an energy that fears dissipation. And fear of death is just another thought in addition to so many other thoughts. So just examine that, and let the identifications become loose, and there won't be any fear of death. Kirti says, thank you for your videos. They help a lot in my journey. I thought I was only one feeling lonely as I am awakening. But then I saw your video and realized that this is the soul's way. Thank you. Thank you, Kirti. I am glad that you feel better. Madhu says, with all respects, are you enlightenment? Well, you know, I am enlightenment, but I am not enlightened. I am not enlightened, and I have no interest in being enlightened. Sherry says, thank you for your amazing videos. Thank you, Sherry. Thank you for watching. Joe S, I will be in Chandigarh, Mohali soon. Would love to connect then if suitable. Of course, let's see. Uh, yes, we will see if something can be arranged. Then we will have a group meet. Kundra Kapam. Nowadays, I start feel that like reply back to bosses for their illogical diktats at any cost of my career. Don't know if I am doing right. So basically, this seems like uh, a a conflict basically at the workplace. So one can certainly examine as to what environment one is and whether it suits them or not. So that needs to be pondered on. Why are you in this job, and why are you working under this person? What is the compulsion that you have to work under this person? If possible, one can switch employments, which will have consequences too. That means perhaps maybe a low salary or anything. But if one values peace of mind more than anything else, then I don't think that's a bad idea. But then it's personally up to you. Val says, thank you for your insights. I'm in UK following your videos. Thank you, Val. Thank you. Madhu, are you enlightenment? No, I'm not. I'm not enlightened. Sujanit, namaskar. Indian from UAE. Oh, namaskar, namaskar. From BC, Dr. Helga from BC. Hello, hi, thank you. Ricky, hello Surya. When interacting with others and my thoughts are not my own, who and what is it that interacts back? the conditioned organism, the biological organism. You know, it is interaction between the two. But if you see from a different, uh, let's say, from a different view, from a different perception, it is consciousness interacting with consciousness. What makes you alive is the same thing that makes the other alive. The body and mind that you hold is separate from the body and mind that the others hold, but the energy running both is the same. So, it is the same energy that is interacting with itself. It has created, in manifestation, it has created two separate mind body organisms that are facilitating interhuman communication. That's that's how it makes life possible. So, you know it is not your thoughts, it is the thoughts that are coming out of consciousness that are interacting with the other thoughts that are also coming out of consciousness. And thoughts and their content, which mean, sorry, consciousness and its content, that means consciousness and thought are not two different things. The thought is also conscious. Sojanith says, I am obsessed with art. My thoughts on art are continuing in background even though I'm working at my day job. Can't stop. I'm always preoccupied. That's beautiful. That's beautiful because I think art is like art is impersonal energy flowing through the instrument, the mind body organism. And it is I see it as a high expression. And if the organism allows for that, we all are artists. Every human being is an artist in some way or the other. So if we allow for art, uh, that energy to flow through us, then definitely one does feel relief, one does feel peaceful. SP says, how practical is it for the ego to completely dissolve, living in an egotistical society? Now, see this question. This question is again coming from a fixed perception that the society is egotistical. How can we be sure that the society is purely egotistical? Maybe the environment is, yes, the environment that we are in can be egotistical, but the society as a whole is not egotistical. Everyone is operating under certain conditions they are not in control of. To say that people have ego is to say that I have the ego too. So here's the thing: ego is not to be completely dissolved, it is not to be completely destroyed, because without ego, you would not be able to navigate life and be functional. So, ego is required. But when the ego flows in horizontal time as thinking and creates beliefs and ideas like the world is bad or egotistical or this or that, that notion can be dropped. That idea can be dropped. So let the ego be there for basic functional living, but do not get absorbed in the flow of that separation, where it says things should be like this, things should be like that. You don't even have to focus on oneness or non dual awareness because you are it. So just see the ego for what it is, you know, and let the mind be quiet and silent, and the reality will reveal itself. That's what I can say. But do not go out to try to destroying your ego, because without your ego you will not be able to survive. Nehar says, thank you. Do you suggest any quants that may help combat association with trauma? Uh, just examine who has been traumatized. What is trauma? If there is an association between me, the person, and what is happening, if there is this separation that I, me, have a trauma, and then I react, and then I do this, do that, then that separation is kept alive. And that separation, this me, tries to fix the trauma, right? Let me do this, let me do that. And that separation itself causes more trauma. If it is understood that me is the trauma, all right? The me, the image is the trauma, then one can definitely feel relieved. Now, sometimes trauma goes away completely. Sometimes trauma continues, but it's manageable. So it does not interfere. I hope it's clear. The me, the image, is the trauma. There is no separation anywhere. So even if it is there in say minor proportions, it doesn't become an obstacle in daily living and functioning. But if something is too traumatic and one is unable to, the body is completely restless and rejecting, then one certainly can take external help too. Okay. See, okay. There's a question. Hello. I am feeling stuck in my career. I have started repeating again and again. I am not able to clear the exam. Okay. Do examine, why do you need to clear this exam? Was it your own idea, or was it something that was given to you? Do you have a natural inclination for it, or are you doing it because you see certain benefits to it? To examine that and be open to other ideas also. Be open to other modes of, other ways of living too. And I think you can certainly try, you can certainly give it your best. But if something is not happening continuously, do not get stuck in that idea that, no, I have to do this no matter what. Do explore other options too. And I'm speaking from personal experience here. How to rest as awareness of awareness. So, Amit, that's a wrong question. There is no how to rest. If I tell you just rest, you just have to rest. That's it. There is no how. The moment you ask how, there is a separate observer that has come up that wants to know the trick. Just rest. That's it. Just be. Just be. Okay, Susan says, once we are aware of peace within us, can we help other family members in any way who are suffering due to mind? So, Susan, we definitely can help other members, but I would say that help when you are asked for help. Do not offer help. Do not offer help when they do not want help. And even when they ask for help, just point them. Do not tell them the way, because they have to find their own way. They have to find their own path. But you can certainly point them in the right direction. But do not concern yourself too much with what others, with the suffering of others. Be there, extend kindness, extend compassion. And the highest compassion is just being there for someone. That's the highest expression. Just being present, in a capacity which is comfortable for you, just being present. And do take care of yourself too, because your peace of mind is more important than anybody else's suffering, even if it's your family members. Because if you lose your balance, then you can not even help anybody. So, yes, if they ask, by all means, help them. Okay. Typher says, I was feeling in an endless nightmare, going through the dark night of the soul, and then found your channel. It has been so helpful. Thank you so much. Love from Mexico. Thank you. Thank you, Typher. Thank you so much. I'm glad that it helped. I'm Yash. Can you share your experience after your awakening? I just feel so alone sometimes, but I know everything is just a fluctuation in my consciousness. So I would say, I would not call it my awakening. I did not awaken. Awakening happened. Awakening is a crack in the structure of personality, and it does not necessarily makes the person peaceful and calm and better. Over time, the spiritual understanding happens as these societal structures and ideas and beliefs begin to break down, and one feels more free, more relieved. But the basic nature of person may not change. If, let's say, a person has short tempered, they may continue to be short tempered even after awakening. But at the same time, they will not cling on to their temper and create resentment or hatred for the other person, because they see consciousness, they do not see person. They see the pure energy, they do not see separation. So that's the concept. And yes, it is normal to experience aloneness and fluctuations in consciousness after awakening. Just let it all be. It will come to an end. Souls on Fire, your views on spiritual portals and synchronicities. I have a hard time pronouncing this word, synchronicities. Well, I think the communication is always happening in the universe, but the communication is not happening to the person. We like to believe that things are happening for us. So we see numbers, we see patterns, but sometimes that can be a trap because it can reinforce the sense of separateness. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to, and I do not say that that concept is not good, but just take any communication that you receive from the universe as a guidance. Universe is not concerned about your physical or mental well-being. It is just following a pattern that needs to be executed. And what is that pattern? We can never make any sense of that. The created object cannot know the will of the creator source. To try to know what the universe is doing and why is it doing for us brings more suffering. Okay, Abhishek says, I have been practicing observation as you have told innumerable times in your talks, but somehow I get caught up with thoughts, addictions, and later regret. Any solution to lead a morally good life? Now, I do not talk much about morality as such because it it's just a idea that we acquire from the world. What is a good life? According to me, a good life is one where there is no separation. A bad life, if one is to distinguish between good and bad, one would say goodness is when one is closest to their own essence or consciousness, and bad could be described something as separation when one is completely separate. Now, it is observation is not a practice. If you try to vigilantly observe, then you have already created a separation between the observer and the observed, which will continue that separation. So, what I'm trying to say is just be, just rest. Do not put any effort into it. The awareness will come itself. Do not seek awareness. Awareness, the remembrance of being will come by itself. And whenever it comes, just rest in that energy. And what you will notice is that presence starts growing. The presence of being starts growing, and you feel more and more calm and relaxed, and the mind becomes quieter. But if you take it up as a practice, this is a misconception. I never say that you have to take observation as a practice. There is no practice or method on this path. There is just being. Whenever the remembrance comes that you are thinking, that thinking is happening, just be. So somebody says here, can we email you? Yes, of course. I get lots of emails every day, and I do respond, and I do make video responses also for most of them, because I do not like to reply too much in written words, as sometimes it can cause confusion. Sujanit, do you believe in ghosts or souls being around live humans? Well, I've never thought about it, to be honest. I'm just concerned. I just rest in my own energy. I generally do not think about it, but who knows? Who knows? Okay, SP is saying, is being in the now all psychological? Do practices like breathwork and Kundalini yoga help? Practices like breathwork and Kundalini yoga do help. In fact, I do practices and yoga myself. But there is one thing to be noticed as to who is doing the practice. If the practice is being done to attain something, then that will keep the practitioner alive. And practitioner is the conceptual thought me. Me is a bundle of identifications. So if the me believes in its own reality, which is an illusion, because me is not our continuous experience, then there will be psychological suffering. Being is not about psychology, because in being, the mind is completely quiet. In fact, there is no mind in being, it's just being. Oops. It's just being, you know. So, but I would never say do not do any practices. If you want to do practices, do practice. If a practice helps you, keeps the body and mind fit and intact, do them. I do practices myself to keep the mind and body fit. But I do not do practices to attain something, to achieve anything. It's just a habit that helps me function better in life. That's it. That's the whole idea. Okay, there is another question. Uh, how do you navigate the apparent paradox of cultivating spiritual growth and detachment while still engaging with and contributing to the material world? So the idea here is the material world is not separate from the spiritual world. There is no bifurcation between the material world and the spiritual world. It is all one. And of course, if one thinks that one's spiritual growth is too important and there is no engagement that one does in the material world, then that is the ego. That is the spiritual ego. All spiritual growth has always contributes even to the material world, even to the people who are facing challenges in daily living. That is why my message is about peace in daily living. It is not about enlightenment. It is not even about awakening. Awakening is something just happens. But the idea is navigating the life peacefully. इतना ही कर लें तो बहुत है. Even if we do this much, that is good enough. Attaining a super conscious state or some permanent bliss is not my aim. I do not go there. Just living life peacefully in this realm is good enough for me. So that is my idea. There is no paradox there for me. There is no spiritual world or material world. It's all spiritual. It's completely spiritual. And we learn and grow through relationships, through interhuman interactions. You can sit in the cave and meditate for 30, 40 years. There is nobody who's going to disturb you there. But the real challenge is when you come to life. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to get involved too much in life, that you have to take every challenge on your head. No, you can find your peace. You can, select a career or a path that you most align with. But at the same time, you do engage in the world. There is no peace if you do not engage in the world. We have to engage. Okay, so let's take one last question before we end this live. How are you dealing with your prarabdha karma? I am not dealing with my prarabdha karma because I am not concerned about my prarabdha karma. Karma, I did not do any karma. Things happened. If this body materialized, this mind materialized because of some things that were not in my control, why should I be even concerned? When we say my karma, we associate ourselves with doership. We say that I did things and it is my karma. But do examine this. Did you really do things? Or did things just happen? Because the Bhagavad Gita says that ego deluded thinks of itself as the doer. And it also says that there are so many forces acting on a human organism that it is impossible to conceive of oneself as the sole doer of actions. So I do not concern myself with any karma or prarabdha karma. I am just being, I am just relaxed, resting in my boat and following the flow of life wherever it is taking me with complete acceptance. Take me, Lord, take me wherever you want to. I have no preferences of my own. Even if I have, there is no desire that they should be fulfilled. What universe decides for me is best, not what my small, puny mind decides. That's the whole idea. Okay, I think I will conclude this session for now. And those of you whose questions I have not been able to answer, you can email me and I will get back to you. Now, I do take a little bit time to get back to emails because I do video responses. So sometimes it can take 15, 20 days or even a month, but I do get back to people with their queries. And sometimes some emails get missed here and there. So please do forgive me for that because some end up in spam and sometimes the volume of emails is too much. So I miss. In that case, just email again and remind me that uh, you know that you had a question. So I take your leave, and wish you uh, I wish you a peaceful Sunday. Enjoy yourself, be relaxed, just be.